Good evening, everyone. I'm Catherine Deering. I'm a past president and a longtime member of the League of Women Voters of Northeast Westchester, or LWV New, as we call ourselves, which is hosting the event. I'd like to welcome you all to this candidate forum for Lewisboro Town Supervisor and Town Board, whether you're watching live or on the recording. We're pleased that both candidates for Town Supervisor and the 4 candidates for Town Board are all participating tonight. We're happy to offer this forum as an opportunity for the community to hear directly from the candidates who seek to serve in these important local offices. I'll remind you all that Election Day is Tuesday, November 7th, and early voting will be available from Saturday, October 28th, through Sunday, November 5th. For more information, feel free to go to our website, lwvnew.org. Our web address is easy, lwvnew.org, and it includes a link to information about the early voting sites and explain some of the changes in the rules about absentee ballots. And it also has a link to something about the state propositions that you'll have to vote on. And you can find a link to the online version of your personalized voter's guide at vote411.org, which has replaced our old reliable voter's guide, the paper version that we all grew so fond of. Anyway, on vote411.org, candidates have provided brief summaries of their qualifications, and there's information about the state propositions. The League also has a little thing on our page about how to use Vote411 in case you have trouble with it. We are a nonpartisan political organization that promotes political responsibility through the informed and active participation of citizens in government. We welcome new members and encourage anyone with an interest in participating to join us. The lwvnew.org website includes a spot where you can apply for membership and/or make a donation to help support our work. There's no audience participation tonight. Lewisboro residents were given the opportunity to submit questions in advance. We'll get our forum started in just a minute, but first I'd like to introduce Lisa Pizzuro, who was called at the last minute to be our timekeeper tonight. So thank you very much, Lisa. She'll keep us moving along. And in a minute, the 4 candidates for school board will disappear from your screen, so you won't have such a crowded screen. You will just see our moderator and the 2 town supervisor candidates. So with that, let me welcome our moderator, Marcia Brewster. Ms. Brewster is a member of the League of Women Voters of the River Towns League. She's also president of the United Nations Association, Westchester County chapter, and is an experienced league moderator. We're very pleased to have her with this evening. And with that, I'll turn the program over to Ms. Brewster.
Thank you for the introduction, and good evening to our candidates and our viewers. It's my pleasure to be here. In accordance with league policy, I am not a voter in this district. Before we get started, I would like to go over a few ground rules. The order of opening statements has been determined by lot that were drawn before the meeting. The order of closing statements will be in the reverse order of the opening statements. The order in which candidates will respond to questions will be rotated by the moderator to assure fairness. Throughout the forum, no comments of a personal or abusive nature will be permitted. The moderator will rule this out of order. The allotted time for opening and closing statements will be 90 seconds. The timekeeper will indicate when 30 seconds remain in the allotted time, and then again when the time is up. Questions from the audience have been submitted to the candidates for the candidates night by email and electronic form. The audience will not be able to submit questions during the event. These questions have not been shared with the candidates prior to the evening's forum. The moderator will address each question to each candidate, and each candidate will have 1 minute to respond. The order in which candidates respond will be rotated by the moderator. Question Question response times will be strictly enforced. The timekeeper will be visible on screen and she will alert the moderator and candidate when 30 seconds are up and then what time to stop. A candidate will be allowed to finish a sentence. Each candidate will be allowed one rebuttal in the course of the event. Rebuttal time will be 30 seconds. There will be no responses to rebuttals. During closing statements, the moderator may grant a 30-second rebuttal if the moderator deems it appropriate. The candidates will not interrupt one another or the moderator during the forum. The moderator will have the authority to pause the proceedings to enforce the ground rules and format. Except for time limits, the only restriction on candidates' statements and answers are respect and civility. So now we will proceed with the candidates for town supervisor. Let me introduce Antonio Gonzalez and Mary Ann Lustenau. They have both allowed me to use their first names. So we will begin with their opening statements. Candidates, you will each have 1.5 minutes to make an opening statements. And we're going to begin with Mary Ann Lustenau. Mary Ann.
Thank you. Thank you and good evening. And again, thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this event. I'm Mary Ann Lustenau. I'm a 30-year resident of Lewisboro. I'm married. I have 3 grown children and 2 grandchildren. I love this town and every day I'm grateful for living here. I have a 35+ year background in the corporate community. I began my career as a sales representative and ascended my way through the ranks to become vice president of sales for a large multinational firm. I had approximately 200 people in my organization and 300 million in revenue responsibility. As supervisor, I believe there are 2 things that the town government should deliver: safety and quality of life, both done in a fiscally responsible manner. Our current supervisor is not delivering on these. We deserve better management. One example is our police don't have working radios. They're using their cell phones to communicate, and we all know that our town has dead zones. In my opinion, this is unacceptable. We need to establish long-range goals, set a path to achieve them, and report to local residents on the progress we make. This is how I ran my organization and how I would run the town.
Thank you very much, Mary Ann. And Antonio Gonzalez has allowed me to use the name Tony. So Tony, you're on.
Thank you, Marcia. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for this opportunity. Many of you know me from my 20+ years of service to the Lewisboro community. My personal connection to this town and its residents is the fabric of who I am. I have been fortunate to live in this amazing place and raise my family. I pride myself in giving back and improving our community. I was on the housing committee when I was initially asked to run for the town board in 2017. I was humbled and I looked at that opportunity as a way to continue with my service to the town. In 2021, I was asked to run for supervisor, and I was honored to accept that invitation and can say that I am proud of our achievements. I have taken on projects which have improved who we are as a community. We have a crossover cell tower, finally providing coverage to the John Jay campus and Route 35, where we had no cell coverage. The town had taken over the defunct Oak Ridge water plant and brought it to a level of quality it never really had. During my tenure on the board, I took ownership, and along with that came the challenge to not fail the residents. Fast forward to today, just shy of $3 million in federal and state grants, and a plant designed for PFAS mitigation is out to bid, and we are moving this forward. The town playground is a jewel of Lewisboro. Working closely with the Playground Project Committee, I advocated for grants, and we got more than we expected. And I thank the majority of the board who voted with me on the overall funding of the project. Fiscal responsibility and minimizing costs to the taxpayer is very important. We have hit an unprecedented $5 million in grant awards. My work is not done. Continued work to improve our town's infrastructure, connecting our communities and enhancing our hamlet centers are things I'm looking forward to spearheading together with my running mates, Dan and Rich. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Antonio. All right, we will now begin the question and answer period. Each candidate will be given an opportunity to answer each question. And we will rotate who answers first. You will each have up to 1 minute to respond. First question, what experience do you have with town government, including as an elected official or as a volunteer on one of the many town committees? And how does this experience prepare you for the job of town supervisor? Tony, you will begin.
Sure. So being a 31-year resident of town, I have been involved with various committees, including the housing committees. I've been involved with the Lewisboro Lions Club, providing community service. I have 4 years experience on the town board and now 2 years as town supervisor. In addition to all the other associations and agencies that I have partnered up or been asked to join, including the Westchester Putnam Association of Town Supervisors, where I'm on the main committee. I'm also on the Westchester Municipal Officials Association as part of their executive committee. And I'm also part of in terms of affiliations with local providers like Optimum and NICEAG. I've taken on those responsibilities, and I've also am the liaison to several town departments, including the building department. And so I think I have much to offer in terms of experience in the town.
Thank you very much. Mary Ann?
While I haven't had the privilege of serving on one of Lewisboro's town committees or as an elected official, I do have, I was running an organization with 15 times the number of employees and a budget 15 times larger than the town's budget. So as my 3 decades in the business sector have provided me with the invaluable experiences and skills which I believe are transferable in a town government role. I've learned how to address complex challenges head on and develop solutions. This skill is essential for dealing with town issues effectively. I've managed budget, ensuring financial stability, and getting the best out of every dollar spent. These are directly applicable to overseeing the town's finances. I've engaged a wide range of stakeholders, understanding their concerns and finding middle ground. This skill is vital to listening and acting upon the diverse.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Next question. What are the greatest budget concerns facing Lewisboro? Does grant funding figure into your thinking? And Mary Ann, you're first.
From what I can see, we are operating with a very tight budget. However, as I look at the budget, I don't see particularly deep line itemization to understand exactly what's going into each line of the budget. So I'm not sure if there's opportunities where we can either save money or divert money, and whether we are collecting enough in other areas. So I do need a little more time to study the budget, but certainly it is apparent it is a tight budget. So I do believe that grant funding is important to get the financial needs of Lewisboro. And what I would do would be to set up a dedicated grant research team. The art of grant acquisition often lies with the quality of the proposal. The team would be made up of volunteers or town staff or even local students, potentially who are looking for
You can finish your sentence, Mary Ann.
potentially who are looking for opportunities.
Great. Thank you very much. Tony?
Sure. Yeah, we run on a very tight budget. We have my first budget that I managed. In my first year as supervisor, we came in below the tax cap, the mandated New York State tax cap. And we are currently working on what will be my second budget. And the goal is to also minimize the impacts to the taxpayer, as we have been doing. And grants is part of it. And this is why we've had an unprecedented $5 million in grant awards in the last 2 years. And I'm looking to continue that trend.
Thank you very much. Third question. Please speak about the current condition of Lewisboro's roads and infrastructure, including your plans for maintenance and repair and how those would be funded. Tony, you're first.
Sure. So there's a combination of we have our town roads and we have several miles of state roads. We have, I think, five or six state roads that crisscross Lewisboro. We have been successful in encouraging and having the DOT actually come out and visit the roadways, especially Route 35, which is the one that I've received most complaints on. They've actually expanded the project, which was originally scheduled for this year. We delayed it till next year because they couldn't pave it at night. And as a result, and because it's a new budget year, I requested for more funding and more paving. And instead of getting under a mile of paving, we're getting about 7 miles of paving from Route 22 all the way to Boughton Road. And that's the most heavily traveled east-west corridor in Westchester County, north of 287. And the local roads, we have to focus on those as well. We have budget that's being allocated. We did about 7 roads this year, and we have another 7 or 8 or possibly 9 to do next year, and possibly more, depending on how we work the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Ann?
So while paving is essential, my approach would be to prioritize financial stewardship. And we would aim to revitalize financial accountability within the town's budget. Before considering the increases, we would reassess unnecessary town expenditures against town functions. Our goal is to streamline service delivery, applying business processes and improvements, and utilizing emerging technologies to align with our resources.
Thank you very much. Fourth question. Voters in the town of Lewisboro will need to vote on a pedestrian and bike safety ballot proposal. Do you support the proposal? Why or why not? And Mary Ann, you're first.
So I do support bike lanes and sidewalks and that promote connectivity, safety, and business development. But I don't approve the bond. There is an urgency in bonding for this $2.1 million now without any documented plan on how we would use this money. This feels shady and non-transparent. When asked why we need to borrow $2.1 million and go into debt now, the answer is we need to start the plan. Isn't that circular thinking? Why not wait to have the master plan completed, understand the plan and the scope of the work, prioritize the phases, and then fund for that work? Far more open and transparent, and each hamlet will understand exactly what it will get as part of the plan.
Thank you. And Tony?
Thank you. So with the bond resolution, we've had much input. It's been going on for years. We have documents. We have an addendum to the master plan of 1985. I think it was dated 2011, which talks about pedestrian improvements. We have another complete streets document dated 2014. There's a lot of data around what's required, especially in our hamlet centers, to make them convenient for pedestrians. And the request for the bond came out of these discussions that have had over the years, including our hamlet committees who have received public input. Our comprehensive plan steering committee have received public input, and also input from the study that was done, the complete streets, that was done by a third party, independent third party. So this is something that, in order to create vibrant hamlet centers, we're going to need to do this eventually, and that's what people are asking for. Thank you.
Thank you. Fifth question. Lewisboro is in the process of updating its comprehensive master plan. As a resident of Lewisboro yourself, what is one item that you would like to see included in the updated master plan, and why? Oh, I'm sorry, Tony, you're first.
So, yeah. So I think getting back to the hamlet centers, again, talking to people, going door to door for both elections that I've been involved with, reading the documentation that has been shared with me by independent third parties, and some of the work that's done in other nearby communities and municipalities. creating vibrancy in the hamlet centers is what's going to attract business. It's going to increase revenue to those businesses, and will lead to an increased tax base as well. So that's why there's an importance to pursuing that, but at the same time preserving the features that Lewisboro is well known for, which are our parks, our preserves, our lakes, and there's a lot of work to do in maintaining the quality of those assets. But again, focusing on hamlet centers, I think, is something critical that if I continue serving as supervisor, is something that I would like to pursue.
Thank you. Marianne?
So I have spent time with our Lewisboro seniors who meet every Wednesday at the South Salem Firehouse. This has been their temporary meeting space for the last 25 plus years. They would like a space to call their own, one that is available to them 5 days a week and where they can set it up for their needs. I would like to see a senior center as perhaps as part of an overall community center or cultural center included in the master plan. I would also like our residents to live in a community affordable enough to retire in. I want to be honest and upfront about data, methods, and assumptions which address the most critical issues like potholes and deteriorating road surfaces that impact the overall safety and convenience of all of our residents.
Thank you. All right, with the sixth question. What is your understanding of the issues facing the town's lakes and lake communities and how town government can help? Marianne, you're first.
With so many of our residents living in lake communities, the health of the town lakes is critical. Discussions have centered on failed, inadequate, or improperly maintained septic systems in the residential areas that are adjacent to the lake. And this has a broader impact than just on the lake residents. The town can advance the work that has been done to detail the issues and solutions for the lakes by establishing a sewer district for Lakes Truesdale, Osceola, Wacabuck, and Rippewam, and begin the work to fund the project. The estimated cost of the initial plan is $40 million. To cover these capital costs, I would access funding streams from New York State, such as Clean Water Revolving Loan Fund from Westchester County and New York City's Department of Environmental Protection, and the East of Hudson Watershed Corporation. And I would get to work on establishing a local waterfront revitalization plan for each of the lakes, which prioritize fighting harmful algae blooms.
Thank you, Marianne. Tony? You're on mute.
Sorry, I was muted. My opponent is correct. We do need to do some work in terms of the lakes and sewer districts. And guess what? That work is already underway. I'm actually on the executive committee of the East of Hudson Watershed Corporation. We picked up where we left off with my predecessor with the lake studies that were paid for by New York City DEP through the East of Hudson Watershed Corporation, where it was determined that the lakes need help. So what did we do this year? Within the past couple of months, we actually finalized the feasibility study of what needs to be done. We have a design for a sewer district that's going to cover Lake Wacabuck, Lake Truesdale, and the Twin Lakes, Oskalita, and Rippewam, as well as a septic maintenance district for Lake Kitchewan. And we have applied for the $40 million. So that's an exact figure that my opponent mentioned. And the applications for those grants are in. So now we're waiting to see, and hopefully within the next couple of months, we have meetings scheduled with the county, meetings scheduled with the DEC and DEP, and we're hoping to make progress. And I've been very active with the lake committees in getting this to where we are now.
Thank you very much, Tony. Okay, so the last question, what important topic have we not covered? Is there a question you often hear from voters that has not been addressed here? Tony, you're first.
A question from voters which has not been addressed here. Let's see. Vote. Well, okay. A lot of requests that are coming in are in terms of recreation. Yes, we have a lot of people interested in pickleball. So we're looking to put in additional pickleball courts. We have abandoned tennis courts that have been abandoned for many years, and I'm looking to revive those into pickleball courts. My opponent mentioned the senior center. Yes, that is something that came to my attention 2 months ago, and I'm working on it. We have 3 options, one of which has been ruled out. So we have two others that we're working on, and we'll hopefully have one of those come to fruition so we can have a dedicated senior center that will give them a permanent space. They've been, since 1997, they've been using the South Salem Fire Department. They're not getting kicked out, so I just want to make that clear. But they do want a space where they have storage and they can call their own, and that is being worked on. Thank you.
Thank you. Marianne, please.
So in my travels talking to people, I hear things that really pertain to our infrastructure, the declining condition of our roads. It happens to be the #1 complaint that I hear among our residents. I also hear concern about what will happen in the town if we have an extreme weather event. Everyone can see that our trees are too close to the wires. We need to take some precautions, and certainly we need to establish a comprehensive emergency plan for the town. I don't believe anything has been done to remedy this.
Thank you. Thank you, candidates. We will now have closing statements. As I said earlier, closing statements will be given in the reverse order of the opening statements. Each candidate will have up to 1.5 minutes to make their closing statement. So Tony, you're first.
Okay, thank you again to the League of Women Voters. Thank you to Marianne for throwing the hat in the ring. It takes a lot to want to do this job. I know I've been living it, and but it's so great. And thank you to the attendees that are on the call or viewing this now from home. I am encouraged by the positive energy in our town. There is excitement around new businesses in our hamlet centers and expansion of existing ones. That excitement of what's to come is what keeps me going day after day. We are working on ideas for turning our hamlet centers to vibrant destinations, including some housing ideas, which will translate to more business for our merchants, housing for our seniors, housing for our young people who maybe want to be able to stay in town and be able to commute to White Plains or New York City. Lewisboro is fortunate to have its lakes, parks, and preserves, and work will continue to maintain them so all can enjoy. Those lakes are private, so waterfront, the waterfront rejuvenization project that was mentioned is not something that applies to the revitalization that applies to private lakes. But speaking of lakes, there is work on improving the lakes quality, as I mentioned, and that translates to cleaner aquifers where your drinking water comes from. So $40 million of grant money is being pursued. The future of Lewisboro is bright, and I'm looking forward to continue to be part of it. As a 22-year member of the Lewisboro Lions Club, I will borrow their motto of "We serve." On November 7th, the voters will decide. Obviously, I'm hoping that I will be at the helm along with my running mates, Dan and Rich. But if that is not the case, I will go back to doing what I have always done in the town of Lewisboro, and that is serving. Thank you very
Tony.
much.
Thank you, Tony. Marianne?
So I love Lewisboro, but improvements can be made. The incumbent town board members here today have been in office for a total of 26 years. Sir Isaac Newton's first law of motion states that an object at rest will remain at rest unless acted on by an outside force. I am that outside force. We've heard a lot of talk tonight about experience. We need people with a fresh point of view. If we continue the same old approach, we will continue to have lack of strategic long-term planning for the town, continued shooting from the hip spending, lack of approaches to funding, and lack of transparency. In short, lack of leadership. I will bring new leadership, new energy, and a new perspective to the role of supervisor. I love Lewisboro, and I will be honored to serve you.
Thank you very much, Marianne. Thank you both. Thank you to both the candidates. We really appreciate your participation. We will now have a 5-minute break. I didn't tell you at the beginning that we were going to get a 5-minute break. We now have the forum for the candidates for town board. We have 4 candidates for the position of Lewistown Town Board. In alphabetical order, the candidates are Allison Biddle, Stephen Lennox, Richard Sklaryn, and Daniel Welsh. We will now begin with opening statements. Candidates, you will each have up to 1.5 minutes to make an opening statements, and we chose the order by lot. Allison, you are first. Please proceed. Allison, you are muted.
I thought I had unmuted that. Sorry. I'll start again. Hello, and thank you to the League for arranging tonight's event and to all of you watching. I'm Allison Biddle, and I believe that local government should be about our infrastructure, quality of life, and safety. We need fewer Republicans and Democrats on the town board and more neighbors and public-spirited citizens. I grew up in Mount Kisco, graduated from Fox Lane. My husband and I are in our forever home in Cross River with our 2 young children. I'm a product of our public university system and hold degrees in computer science and applied mathematics. I've worked on Wall Street for 24 years, where I designed and built the trading systems used globally by the banks and broker-dealers for their equity, options, and futures desks. Eventually, I moved away from developing the software myself to managing the development teams, and finally moving into a sales and account management role. Today, I'm a senior global enterprise account manager for an operational resilience software company servicing our large financial services and insurance companies. In my current role, I manage a quota over $1 million. I met that in my first 10 months, a company record, and I'm on track to meet it again. I am running again because we can do better. We can do better capital planning. We can do better by supporting our seniors. We can do better by our roads. We can do better than only relying on grants to improve our town. We can do better at being transparent. We can do better meetings. We can do better for the environment. We can and we should be more fiscally responsible and smart. Being a mom of 2 young children, I am always thinking about the future of our town. And so here I am tonight, hoping to earn your votes. I look forward to a spirited debate on the issues.
Thank you very much. Stephen, you're next.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for being with us today. A special thank you to the League of Women Voters for putting this together for us. It is my pleasure to be here. For those of you who do not know me, I'm Stephen Lennox, and I'm running for Town Council. I'm a lifelong resident of Westchester County. I moved to Lewisboro with my wife 6 years ago, and we now have 2 amazing daughters. I believe in reaching out to people of different persuasions and bringing them together for a common cause. Moving Lewisboro into the future as a desired place we can all live, work, and raise our families. I have over 12 years of business experience working for my family's transportation company, where we employed nearly 500 people. I personally worked closely with New York State Transportation and Westchester County Power Transit. Between my business background and my municipality work experience with the town of Yorktown, I know I will be a strong asset to the town of Lewisboro and make an excellent town councilman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Daniel, you're next.
Thanks. I grew up in Lewisboro, went from K to 12. I was actually attending all the schools except Katona Elementary. Grew up in Lewisboro. I've seen it evolve and grow, but today we face challenges, everybody, and change at a frightening pace. And I've been working at the active edge of some of the most important elements of that change for years. Most of that for me has connections to sustainability, since sustainability is about finding ways to live now that doesn't degrade the lives of the people who come after us. When I joined the board several terms ago, I'm looking around, I figured the doorway that was widest to allow everybody to be part of that dialogue was the simple conditions of pedestrians and bicyclists. So I went and organized and led community meetings. I helped develop the old Golden Bridge Reservoir Trail that connected the folks there in a nice loop. I worked on and drafted the Complete Streets policy that shepherded through the town board, which became the first in Westchester County. I also took this know-how out into the county and helped towns outside of Lewisboro. So all that's for me to say that while I take the traditional legislative and oversight duties of the council seriously and bring extensive experience to that, for me, it's about looking for opportunities to turn community needs and passions into concrete action and results, always with a view towards the future.
Thank you very much. Richard.
Good evening and thank you. For those who don't know me, my name is Rich Sclaren, and I'm honored to be running for re-election the Lewisboro Town Board as Town Council person. I'm a 25-year resident of the Wild Oaks neighborhood in Goldens Bridge. I raised my children, my son Noah and my daughter Julia in town, both products of the KLSD school district and on to college and graduate school. I've been a practicing trial and appellate attorney for over 30 years, practicing in the state and federal courts across the New York metropolitan area, representing entities such as school districts, police departments, small businesses, and individuals. As a longtime Lewisboro resident, I've always wanted to give back to this community, which has been so good to me and my family. I've served on the Lewisboro Planning Board and the Lewisboro Library Board of Trustees. I've been a member of the Lewisboro Alliance, and I've been president of my homeowners association for more than 2 decades. When the opportunity to serve came up in 2020, I was looking forward to that opportunity. And during my close to 3 years of service to the town as a council person, I brought my strong work ethic, leadership skills, and good common sense to help deliver for Lewisboro. A record of fiscal responsibility, unprecedented level of new infrastructure projects, tangible improvements to ball fields, environmental stewardship, and within a town which is increasingly diverse, fostering a vibrant community spirit to make sure we're open and welcoming to all.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to all the candidates. Now we will begin the question and answer period. So each of you will have the opportunity to answer every question, and you will each have up to a minute to respond. First question: what experience do you have with town government, including as an elected official or as a volunteer on one of the town committees? And how does that experience prepare you for the job of town board member? Stephen, you're first. Stephen, are you muted?
I can hear you. So I'm an active member of my church community in New Canaan, and I do a lot of volunteer work there. I believe commitment and integrity is huge. In my business experience, I've managed budgets, addressed complex challenges, and led teams to success. While I haven't served in an elective role on an appointed board, in Lewisboro, my extensive background has given me a unique and valuable perspective on effective governance and leadership. I understand the need for fiscal responsibility, transparent decision-making, and prioritizing the needs of the community. While some may emphasize tenure in the town government, it's clear from our town's current state that new perspective and fresh approaches are urgently needed. My platform focuses on ethics, financial stewardship, smart growth, transparency, collaboration, and sustainable development. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Richard?
Thank you. I've had tremendous opportunities to serve our community over the last 2 decades. I started on the Open Space Advisory Committee when it was called that, moved on to the Housing Committee, and then on to the Lewisboro Library Board of Trustees, as well as Planning Board before Town Board opportunity came up in 2020. The important part is I've learned so much about how our town operates, about the town budget, about the people in the town, about the tremendous volunteers, all of which allowed me to hit the ground running when I was elected in 2020. And aside from all that, aside from my experience, I did a lot of research. I did a lot of legwork. Our opponents have not been to any town board meetings to learn about things. There's an opportunity there to study budgets. You look on Google, adopted 2023 budget, you can find out all the statistics you want by letting your fingers do the walking.
Thank you, Richard. Allison?
Sure. My husband and I moved to Lewisboro about 8 years ago. And we have 2 young children who we hope will have the opportunities necessary so they can raise their own families here. I've been active in Girl Scouts, multiple charities and community organizations, and as a candidate for town council 2 years ago. I helped expose some of the backroom practices that reform and transparency expose and want to eliminate. And I have an outspoken voice on improving location siting for local utilities, clean water, and more recently on need for permanent dedicated senior center for Lewisboro. My experience in life is what makes me prepared to be an effective town board member. When meeting with a neighbor recently, she called me a can-do gal, which is such a compliment. I pride myself in all aspects of life for seeing problems, working out solutions, and then seeing them to fruition. When my neighbors on my street wanted mailboxes so to not to have to maintain a PO box, I worked diligently with the post office and highway department for a year to get it done. I do watch the board meetings and other planning and zoning board meetings, so I think I have enough experience watching those to understand what it would take to be on the town council.
Thank you very much. Second question. What are the greatest budget oh, Dan?
Yeah, were you going to ask me that question or no?
I'm sorry. Wait
It's
a
okay.
minute.
No biggie. I mean,
No.
no.
So I missed you. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
You mean the what experience do you have with town government?
Yes, correct.
I'm sorry. I thought you had answered that. I apologize.
No problem. I must just exude that. experience.
Excuse me.
Yeah,
I'm so
no.
sorry.
So I've spent now 4 terms on the town board and been an extremely active member of Housing, the Conservation Advisory Committee, the Open Space and Preserves Committee, even the predecessor of that committee. What else? Stormwater Committee. I don't know, I can even recall them all. So I have a really intimate knowledge of the workings of these things. And I'm, as I say, I'm an active member. I'm out there, I'm doing things, not just showing up at the meetings. Also, I spent a lot of time in my day job, which is actually often a night job, at meetings around the county. So I've sat in on a lot of other municipalities' meetings. So I have that as a reference, whether you're talking about budgets or all kinds of things. I've sat through them all, and I kind of have a data bank that I think is pretty valuable at this point.
Thank you so much, and I apologize for that.
No problem.
Second question. What are the greatest budget concerns facing Lewisboro? Does grant funding figure into your thinking / calculus? And Daniel, you're first.
Yeah, of course, everybody's going to say, we want to go out and get grant money. Of course we do. And I think now we're now looking at signing up with a service, because there's just so much coming through now from the federal, the new federal green jobs and type funding through the state and all this. It's really hard to keep up with. And we're gonna need help for that, even on the grant writing side. I know there's been a lot of talk about trying to get volunteers, but this is stuff where there's a big return on it if you get it right. So I think we want to get help on that. And relative to the rest of the budget, I mean, everybody has said already it's a tight budget. There's not a lot of play in that in different places to do a lot of things, but I've done a lot of work on, through the sustainability work and trying to find ways to save money. We saved thousands on by going to LED streetlights. We signed up for the community solar for the town accounts, and that's saving thousands every year. So that's the area that I like to focus on for making those savings, is doing good and saving money at the same time.
Thank you, Dan. Richard?
Our biggest budgetary challenge is trying to balance the delivery of a reasonable level of services in a community that has just over a $14 million budget. For people who look at their tax bill, that's about 10% of the school district budget. And your tax bill is maybe 1 out of 7 or 1 out of every 8 of those dollars is going to the town of Lewisboro. So that creates challenges. It creates challenges by trying to take care of a decent level of services in our community, which has the lowest level of employee compensation, I believe, in Westchester County. We have incredibly dedicated and devoted town employees, and equally, we have incredibly dedicated and devoted volunteers. Without the loyalty and devotion of our town employees and our town residents who volunteer in so many capacities, we would not be able to have this town run in such an efficient manner as it does.
Thank you. Allison.
Sure. So I think our biggest problem is our lack of capital planning. We don't have a capital budget. A capital budget's a lockbox of revenues raised for itemized capital projects that is planned out over a number of years. Lewisboro is the first town I've seen which does not have one. We need to make this a priority. We should be exploring leveraging a tax increment financing, which is where Lewisboro would pledge their future tax revenue to finance a broad list of redevelopment projects, including loan acquisitions, demolition, site preparation, and the construction of public infrastructure and open space. If it is exempted from the formula used to determine municipal debt limits. The law was amended in 2012 to make it easier for cities outside of New York City to dedicate school tax revenue to TIF projects, and again in 2016 to allow cities to create TIF districts to fund MTA projects like the Golden Bridge sidewalks. It's been 2 years since we exposed the current town board members from their secret lake rights land sale to the supervisor's confidential secretary, but under the current leadership, we have done nothing to sell the properties probably or any. We need to explore other funding options besides grants.
Thank you very much, Allison. Stephen?
To add to what Allison said, our town is one of the only ones that lacks a dedicated capital budget. Yet there are many pressing infrastructure concerns. A dedicated capital budget is crucial for a strategic planning and addressing infrastructure needs. In my years in business, as well as my service with the town of Yorktown, I've learned the importance of proactive budgeting for long-term projects. Our platform speaks directly to this, revitalizing financial accountability and aligning town resources with citizen requirements. Without a dedicated capital budget, we're not only missing out on planned infrastructure upgrades, but also risking more expensive emergency repairs down the road.
Do I have
Thank
a
you.
rebuttal opportunity? How does that work? I'm sorry.
Sorry, I probably didn't give that in detail. You're allowed one rebuttal of up to 30 seconds. Would you like to take that now?
No, I'll hold on to that. Thank you for clarifying that.
Okay. So, and in the closing statements, you're allowed one rebuttal of 30 seconds as well. Okay, so question number 3. Please speak about the current condition of Lewisboro's roads and infrastructure, including your plans for maintenance and repair and how those would be funded. And Richard, you're first.
Thank you. Under Tony's leadership, we've had an unprecedented level of infrastructure projects, from the town park, all-inclusive playground and playgrounds to Fox Valley and Onatru, increased level of condition of our ball fields across town. We've done a lot on that infrastructure component. And on the road aspect of things, we have addressed, and you could take a look at all the new roads that have been addressed in town this year, and we're on a schedule to move forward on that. And based upon the leadership in our state government relationships, we have Route 35, close to 7 miles, a $4 million project, which is going to start next year to address that. During one of my opponent's literatures talked about secondary roads. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but our local roads are have been done, but more needs to be done. And one of the things that I addressed actually just last night was putting ARPA funds towards more local road improvements.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Allison?
Sure. Improving roads, infrastructure, and maintenance without raising taxes is challenging, but it's possible with careful planning and resource allocation. So some things we could do is we could prioritize projects, assess the current conditions, and prioritize projects based on safety and need. Again, going back to the lack of planning, leveraging the grants and funding that's available, public-private partnerships, exploring partnerships with private companies to take care of the repairs, where they might cover the costs in exchange for advertising opportunities or other benefits. Pavement management, implementing a pavement management system to extend the life of the roads through cost-effective maintenance strategies. A bond issuance, when appropriate, issuing bonds to finance road projects, spreading the cost over several years and using future revenue to repay them. Community volunteering, local contractors, utilizing them for labor for road work to support the local economy. Economic development and cost sharing, collaborating with neighbors neighboring towns to share the cost of the maintenance and repairs. These are things that I think we could explore to help improve our roads and infrastructure.
Thank you. Stephen. You're muted, I think, Stephen.
Condition of our roads in Lewisboro, I think it's been a significant concern for a while. The current board speaks about experience infrastructure has largely been neglected under their watch, in my belief. As part of our smart growth initiative, we aim to prioritize long-term benefits for our town, and that starts with our roads. I have faith in our new highways supervisor. That's going to start in January. He's an expert on this matter, and yep, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Daniel?
Yeah, I'll speak to the roads. It was proposed that we bond for them. That's been a pet peeve of mine for a long time, although we may that is to avoid bonding for the roads, because that generally just kicks things down the road. And I've been through a couple of cycles like that. And the problem with bonding for the roads is that the payments kind of disappear off into bond repayment land, and people lose track of what the actual costs of maintaining the roads is. That said, this year we're probably going to borrow a little bit for the roads just to smooth out the budget bump that's coming from the salary bump from the frozen salaries that we've had for the past 3 years. Beyond that, there's some great projects in the works that we have to plan for the pool house refurbishment. And so yes, we need a new capital plan to speak to all of those for this year.
Can I utilize my rebuttal at this time?
Yes, you may.
Okay.
30 seconds.
I appreciate our opponent's discussion of the road and infrastructure issue. I heard the phrases careful planning, resource allocation, we can do better. I'm kind of dating myself, but I'm thinking about an old hamburger commercial and where's the beef? I'd like to see what's going to be spent and where the cost is going to be done. Our opponents and their philosophy is talking about things that need to be done, but you got to spend money in order to get things done. I'd like to see in the literature or any proposal where that's actually coming from.
Thank you for your rebuttal. Now we're going to move along to question 4. Question 4, explain your position on the impact of climate change on Lewisboro. What measures, if any, do you think the town should take to be more resilient in the face of more extreme weather? And Allison, you're first.
Okay. So under my opponent's experience, we learned during the pandemic that the town lacked a comprehensive emergency plan. Yet nothing had been done to put in place. The plan should include evacuation routes, emergency shelter locations, and communication strategies to ensure that every resident knows what to do in the case of extreme weather. Under the experience, there is no audit of our current infrastructure to identify vulnerabilities. Roads, bridges, sewage systems, and public buildings should be fortified to withstand extreme weather events. We need a true emergency operations center, not the temporary choices now of our police department headquarters and town hall. Under their experience, they've approved spot zoning and continue to approve projects in a vacuum. So we can miss numerous opportunities to improve drainage systems to prevent localized funding. We need to be creating rain gardens, bioswales, and green roofs to manage stormwater naturally. Under their experience, the safety of our residents has not come first. Our police lack radios or systems to provide early warnings to the community. Under their experience, they have not ensured residents are prepared. I propose we partner with World Cares, who can help residents become ready responders so that in an emergency, they understand that personal emergency plans are and basic safety measures.
Thank you, Allison. Next is Stephen.
When I hear the word climate change, it makes me think of natural resources, and sustainable development is key. We'll aim for platform designation as a climate smart community, address clean water complaints with a clear budget and timeline, and protect our waterfronts from environmental threats. Stewardship means safeguarding our resources from future generations, and that's precisely what we intend to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Daniel.
Yeah, when I think of this, obviously we've got the extreme heat events. And I think there's opportunities to both pursue actions that help mitigate future climate change and at the same time to provide some additional sort of insurance policies for the folks that are subjected to these things. So if we do more work on insulating and sealing our houses and upgrading those heating and cooling systems, then we'll have a better chance to get through those events and make a contribution to reducing the greenhouse gas impacts that are bringing those events to us. And there's a lot of sort of circular issues like that you could go through.
Thank you very much, Richard.
The question, as I heard it, was about climate change. I didn't hear either of my opponents acknowledge that climate change actually exists because they didn't mention it. Well, I believe it exists based upon the unprecedented weather events that we've had in our area and across the country and across the world. It's something that has to be addressed. Our continued economic viability depends upon addressing this over the next generation. One of the things that we've done in our little corner of the world in Lewisboro is that this is something that I push for, is that we eliminated having any additional fossil fuel gas stations in Lewisboro. That was one little thing we did to address that. And that has a little positive effect referable to climate change and also making sure that the environment is preserved in our community full of lakes and in the watershed.
Thank you very much. Now we're going on to question number 5. What is your understanding of the issues facing the town's lakes and lake communities and how town government can help? Stephen, you are first.
The primary
The issues facing the town's lakes and lake communities.
town lakes. You want primary issues?
Issues facing the town's lakes and lake communities and how town government can help.
Okay, well, the primary environmental challenges of the town faces include clean water complaints, the protection of our lakes and streams from erosion, harmful algae blooms, and flooding are all issues. While I haven't had too many complaints about this issue, I know algae has been a problem in the lakes. Sometimes you're not able to swim in them. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel?
Yeah, unfortunately, our local advocates around the lakes, they do tremendous work, and for decades they've been sort of fighting this battle and educating the residents about it, and we're getting our septic tanks pumped and doing all that, and it's still not enough. The issue is clearly basically density and the fact that we're just too close to the lakes. So the long-term solution to this, or medium term, is has already been discussed in previous sessions, and that is to go to a sewer system. And the work, what's needed to be done, again, has already been talked about, the securing of the funding for that, because at this point the lakes are degrading, and some people even extract their water from the lakes for the drinking water. It's not just to ride your motorboat around. And of course, the lakes ultimately feed into the reservoir system. So this is going to be a really important project both for us and the folks downstream.
Thank you. All right, Richard.
Addressing the condition of our lakes in a community such as ours with so many well-established lake communities is an integral part of our continued economic viability. I heard the supervisor, which I support what we're trying to do. We're moving forward under Tony's leadership on addressing the failed septic systems based upon many communities who started out as bungalows and just were not equipped to the growth that we've had over successive generations. So there's a plan to move forward. There's applications that are in the hopper for the funding to move forward in that process and to come up with a comprehensive solution, which will equip us to move forward in the next generation and ensure the continued economic viability of our many lake communities and the town of Lewisboro as a whole.
Thank you very much. Allison.
So in case anyone was wondering, climate change is real, and we really did go to the moon. Our town's lakes and lake communities are treasured assets that face numerous challenges. From my research and listening to residents, I'm keenly aware of the issues like sewers, purification, water quality, aquatic connectivity, habitat restoration, drainage, and most importantly, recreational public access. All things that would be addressed through the LWRP process, to say nothing of erosion, harmful algae blooms, and flooding. These issues not only affect the beauty and usability of our lakes, but also the health and well-being of our residents. Our platform emphasizes sustainable development and ensuring we maintain our precious natural resources. It is vital to balance conservation with enjoyment. We'll explore modern infrastructure solutions like sewers to ensure they benefit both the environment and our residents. Lewisboro deserves leadership that understands these challenges holistically and is prepared with actionable plans rather than relying solely on past experiences without forward-thinking solutions. While my opponents have experience, our town has suffered under their watch. We need actionable plans and fresh perspective to address these pressing issues.
Thank you very much. Question number 6. Please address the challenges of addressing and balancing the concerns of Lewisboro's 6 different hamlets. Daniel, you are first.
Yeah, that's a really interesting and exciting piece because each of the hamlets does have their own identity, and yet we want to, string them together in a relationship, which is the town of Lewisboro. So to that end, though, I think we do have to start with the hamlets. They do have their own needs, and the folks down in Vista have their own ideas about how they're going to develop. But by being actively involved in that from the town side and supporting them in that, I think we'll organically and naturally sort of bring everybody together, and whether it be the common interests in infrastructure and looking towards the sort of walkability and smart growth and all that. We can provide resources, we can assist them, and yet allow them have their neighborhood coherence and to be able to exhibit their own specialties. So
Thank you. Richard, you're next.
One of the core missions of our steering committee for the master plan is to explore exactly that, to talk about how the town of Lewisboro will be able to thrive in the next generation. And one of the things they're addressing on is how the different needs of the hamlets and how the hamlets can be part of a whole here in town, the unique perspectives of each hamlet, and bring that together as it's going to happen in the development of the master plan, taking what's best about the hamlets, what's best about the neighborhoods, and adapting that for the current times and bringing us together as one community.
Thank you. Allison?
Sure. There's an old saying that you stop the fight between us by fighting for everyone. While we address the individual hamlet needs, we also need to be addressing the issues facing our roads, our police, our infrastructure. We need to have a senior center so if people today retire, they want to stay here. Our hamlets are independent, and we need a comprehensive vision which sets town-wide goals and objectives while addressing the neighborhood level concerns each hamlet faces. First, we have the smallest commercial tax base in the county. This affects homeowners in every hamlet, forcing us to shoulder the burden while most shop in neighboring communities. Cross River has been a hub for commerce given its shopping centers. We want to ensure that commercial spaces are filled and that the community supports these businesses. Vista also needs support for our businesses, but we cannot forget ensuring proper water management and addressing infrastructure to prevent flooding and preserve water quality, which is something the current incumbents have not done. Every hamlet has infrastructure concerns, and in Golden Bridge, especially around the train station, ensuring efficient and safe transportation, managing parking concerns, and promoting shopping here in town.
Thank you. And Stephen?
Yeah, to add to what Allison was just saying, Lewisboro is a tapestry of unique hamlets, each with distinct needs. While Cross River thrives on commerce, Golders Bridge grapples with transportation, and South Salem with the lakes preservations, Walkabout values its rural charm. Vista, my personal favorite, seeks better water management, and Lewisboro Hamlet desires equal representation. Yet, all share common concerns: unlimited commercial tax base, unmaintained parks, and overlooked infrastructure. Despite promises, the current leadership hasn't delivered. It's not just about time in office, it's about tangible results. I offer a comprehensive vision for our town. Marrying town-wide goals with Hamlet-specific solutions, always prioritizing integrity and action. Let's rejuvenate Lewisboro together. Consider a governance approach that values both our town's employees and yet hard-earned dollars, ensuring they are constantly invested in enhancing our local infrastructure services and lifestyle.
Thank you very much. So we come to the final question. The question number 7 is, what important topic have we not covered? Is there a question you often hear from voters that has not been addressed here? And Richard, you're first.
I think as a 25-year resident, one of the things that hasn't been discussed, which we are aware of and addressing, is people's interaction with the process of, for example, the planning board. I was on the planning board for 3 years and had an opportunity to get a good education and move things through. One of the things that I learned in speaking to residents and applicants, and I agree with, is that the process should be as inexpensive as possible, as quick as possible, and should be proportionate to what needs to be done to ensure that the applicable regulations and zoning laws are addressed. That's something that the town's aware of. I tried when I was on the planning board to have a lot of things move through administratively, keep costs down, make sure that the process move forward as quickly as possible. And that's something that I know is important to residents, to make sure that there's a streamlined planning process when they go before a planning board as an applicant.
Thank you very much. Allison, you're next.
Sure. I'm a young woman running against 2 older men. The struggle is real, seriously. If we want diversity and freshness, fresh new perspectives, re-electing a slate that is in power for 26 years is not going to help things. There's value in different life experiences, backgrounds, and viewpoints that I, as a mom of 2 young children, bring to the table. I'm committed to represent the broader community's interests and address issues that may have been overlooked for too long. Ultimately, change is driven by new voice and ideas, and my candidacy is a step towards more inclusive and innovative local government. I've participated in diversity and inclusion training sessions, seminars, and workshops. Continuous education is crucial, and I'm always seeking to expand my understanding. However, I recognize there's always more to be done. As a board member, I'm committed to evaluating town committees, boards, and staff to ensure they're reflective of diversity of our community. Regularly hold town hall meetings at different times and locations, ensuring accessibility for all residents, and actively seeking input from groups who historically might not have been part of the conversation, ensuring their concerns and insights shape town policies. It's also why we should be flying the Israeli flag alongside that of Ukraine.
Thank you. Stephen.
On day 1, we'll enforce the highest ethical standards, focusing on accountability and eliminating personal influence in decision-making. Contemplating and professional administrator ensures seamless day-to-day operations. With a confidential whistleblowing mechanism and an independent ethics watchdog, will maintain transparency and oversight. Our town needs a direction that's free from conflict and serves the best interest of its residents. Transparent governance is vital. We'll introduce an open data policy, use modern software to measure service quality. Board agendas and documents will be accessible a week in advance. With clear indication of changes, all legislation will come with explanatory notes. Fiscal and equity impact statements, ensuring that residents are always informed and engaged. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel.
I think the topic that we really haven't talked much about, maybe glanced off of it, is housing. And it's a unique and terrific challenge here to think about how we're going to make sure that our housing stock is able to meet the needs of people and their different stages of their lives and diverse populations. Because we built a lot of 4,000 or 5,000 square foot houses, and now we know the story of the family that comes in, raises their kids here, and then the kids go and like, oh, that's too much, and they move out. We also know the stories of folks, and personal experience with someone who stayed in their home all the way through, and they wanted to stay there, and it was just too much, but there's no other real options. So this is almost it's a combination of sort of infrastructure and like social engineering and change and dialogue that's probably one of the most complex problems we face. And I think we want to really push on that one to make progress.
Thank you very much. And thank you to all the candidates for answering all the questions. We will now have closing statements. As I said earlier, closing statements will be given in the reverse order of the opening statements. Each candidate will have up to 1.5 minutes to make their closing statements. So first off for the closing statements is Richard.
Thank you so much. And thank you to the League of Women Voters and everyone listening into this debate. I love this town, and I've been truly blessed to serve Lewisboro in so many capacities over my 25 years here, and most recently on the town board. It's been an honor, and my experience has given me the opportunity to serve this community at a high level of engagement and being able to understand town issues well. And unlike our capable opponents, we are seeking to lead Lewisboro into the future with sound fiscal, environmental, and community-oriented policies, not hollow platitudes. And I think of the philosopher Jerry Maguire, show me the money, and hopefully we'll have an opportunity to hear that during the successive closings. I believe my solid record of fiscal responsibility, our significant infrastructure improvements, environmental stewardship, and a broad-based community engagement have warranted my re-election to this position. I am asking for your support, myself and the Leading Lewisboro Forward team. We ask that you vote beginning with early voting on October 28th through Election Day in November 7th. Thank you very much for listening. It's been an honor to serve our community, and I look forward to the opportunity to continue to do so.
Thank you, Richard. Daniel.
So hopefully I've conveyed a little bit about why I want to do this work, why I'm passionate about it. Maybe I'll share a little bit more of my CV, because I haven't really talked about that. I graduated from SUNY Albany with a degree in physics and political science, dual degree, and a minor in Chinese. That got me into an engineering job where I worked with an engineering contractor for years and years as their China manager, and then later as the commercial director for the company. From there, I kind of engineered a career change into the IT world, where I started with a magazine publisher in their small web group, and the database development and web development. With that, moved into school district data systems, and did that for years and years. And finally, in my third phase of my career, I'm now with Sustainable Westchester, which is an intermunicipal consortium. It's a membership nonprofit, and there I serve as the director of the Westchester Power Program. And I'd just like to say that for me, this is all one mission: the board seat, Sustainable Westchester. And frankly, I work from morning to night, and in the past 7 years, I've taken a total of 5 days of vacation. This is my life. And I would be honored if I would be allowed to continue to throw myself into that and try to help with the next year's work.
Thank you. Stephen.
I believe that I'm the right candidate because I'll bring fresh ideas, business experience, firsthand knowledge of how a municipality should operate, as well as enthusiasm to the council. Above all, I want to help bring in business to provide convenience to young families and expand the tax base while also preserving the beauty of this gorgeous town. I plan on raising my family here. I truly want what's best for Lewisboro. I believe some fresh faces on the board can make a positive impact in moving Lewisboro in the right direction. Thank you again to the League of Women Voters for hosting this debate. And it was great meeting all of you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. And Allison.
When I decided to run for the town council, it was again important for me for the campaign to be about all neighbors. We need a town council where we're all in this together, not us versus them. We need a town council who wants to do better for all constituents, not just the friends or those who yell the loudest. We need a town council that wants to be transparent and share share news, good or bad, proactively. We need a town council that wants to be efficient and effective with everyone's time and money. We need a town council who makes our seniors a priority. We need a town council who takes pride in our buildings, parks, and our roads. We need a town council who listens so all voices are heard. But most of all, we need a town council that recognizes that we exist to serve the people of Lewisboro. It's why we should be flying the Israeli flag alongside that of Ukraine. And 26 years is long enough. It's time for a change.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all the candidates for town supervisor, as well as the candidates for town board. It's a reminder that this forum is being recorded and it will be available to all on the sponsoring league's websites until Election Day, which is November 7th. I also want to remind you of the unique and important role played by the League of Women Voters here in the community and across the country. The league works to register voters, educate them on the issues of the day, and to protect their right to vote. Your local league is made up of volunteers who devote their time and energy. Your participation and assistance are always welcome. Early voting takes place from Saturday, October 28th through Sunday, November 5th. The early voting polling locations can be found at the Westchester Board of Elections website. On Election Day, you can vote only at your designated polling location. To confirm your polling location, you can visit vote411.org or the New York State Board of Elections website to use their voter lookup service. Thank you all for your participation and have a wonderful evening.